Ethen Bodruk. I'm a biology major at Georgia Southern and I'm a waterfowl enthusiast. And today I'm going to be telling you about the ducks here at the lake. So probably for many of you, a big highlight of coming to Lake Ruby is when you get to see the ducks. And what a lot of people don't know is that these ducks aren't like wildlife. They're not native to here. They were someone's pets. And the thing is that people tend to drop off their domestic ducks once they don't want them anymore. And this may seem kind of harmless because, well, they're ducks and a lot of people don't see them as dogs or cats. The problem with that is that, like any feral animal, they compete with the wildlife that are native to the area. And so what a lot of people will do is, especially around this time of year, places like Tractor Supply and a lot of other feed stores, they have their chicks that you see in the store. And they're great and they're cute and everything, but they get bigger and they get older. And a lot of people who buy ducks realize that they get messy. And then they get aggressive sometimes, depending on if you have too many males to females. And so what do? You release them. Well, a big issue with that is that you shouldn't do that, first of all. It's illegal. A second problem with that is that it's inhumane. They're not built to live out here. Most of these ducks can't fly. They're not able to leave and migrate like other birds are, like the wild Canada geese that also are here are able to do. They're not able to go get more food. And then if you have too many males in an area, that causes aggressive issues. And so ultimately there's population imbalance. And that's something that no wild population normally has because there's a normal balance there in the ecosystem. So what is considered wildlife of the lake is any wild duck species that may be passing through, as well as the Canada geese, who are residents at the lake. They will be here pretty much all throughout the spring until the fall, when they more than likely raise their babies here. And these you should not feed. It's not a good idea for them to become associated with people because they need to stay as wild as possible. They need to be able to teach their young where the other food sources here besides here at Georgia Southern. So many of you guys may realize that of the flock that's here at Lake Ruby and Lake Wells, there's one that looks very different from everyone else, and that's because he is wildlife. He's a wood duck. They are native to Georgia. And so what basically would probably happen here is that he imprinted on this flock, and so he sees them as his own. And so even though he can fly away, he more than likely won't because this is his group, this is his family, this is his population that he's a part of. So this is a drake. That's what the male ducks are called. And a lot of people come up to me and they ask me, well, how do you tell the difference? Besides the way they sound, males make a more raspier quacking sound, females make a louder quacking sound. All male drakes have this feather on the end that's curled. It's called a drake feather, and that's how you can tell them apart. So a common misconception is that ducks like to eat bread. Why is that a bad idea? Well, bread has no nutritional value for a lot of birds, and although people have been doing it for a long time, it doesn't necessarily mean it's good for them. Bread that hasn't been eaten can get in the water, and that can cause algal blooms, which can not only make the ducks sick if they eat it, but it can also make the entire ecosystem sick, and a lot of bad bacteria can start to grow in that algae. What's good to feed ducks, though, if you do want to feed ducks, is other foods like grapes, lettuce, cooked rice, a lot of grain, and you can go to feed stores like the Tractor Supply and other feed stores that you can get things like corn, or you can get specially made duck feeds and chicken feeds that is good for them. What a lot of people don't know about ducks, and this goes back to why you shouldn't just buy them on a whim, is that they have special nutritional requirements like niacin. Niacin is a certain vitamin that we also need, but that ducks definitely need for proper development. And if they don't get niacin in their diet, especially when they're really young, they can develop really poor quality of life conditions like poor bone growth and a condition called angel wing where they aren't able to fly. So like me right now, I'm getting a bit cold. It's kind of a rough day outside. But what you won't notice is the ducks getting very cold. And mostly that's because they have a very thick layer of down on their feathers, and that helps insulate them very well. But another thing about them is, you may wonder, how do their feet not get cold? Because they look like they have naked feet. Well, ducks have a certain artery and vein system where their veins and arteries run very close to each other. So when the cold blood from their feet runs back up towards the body, very little heat's lost because the warm artery is also moving a lot of its heat into that vein. So overall, what I mostly want to learn here today is just a little bit more about the ducks that you already love here at the lake. But what I really want you to learn is how to respect them. They are animals, just like a dog or a cat, and you should always be nice to the animals, and you should always treat the ecosystem with respect. Don't pick them up unless you know what you're doing. And if they have nests or if they're just going about their day, try not to bother them, just like how you wouldn't want to be bothered doing any of your daily activities. So if you ever see me here at the lake, feel free to ask questions. I always like to be able to educate people about the ducks and the environment around the lake. And if you want other resources, there's the Center for Wildlife Education on campus. There's good bird websites like the Cornell Lab of Ornithology and eBird. You can look those up and just come out here yourself. Just sit down for a little while and appreciate nature, appreciate the ducks that you love so much, and just enjoy Georgia Southern as it is.